think don't forget to write from your heart. Write from your heart. Depends on what kind of stories you're going to write. People can sense feeling in stories and in articles, and if you write from your heart and write with emotion, then people will be willing to read what you write.
You just got to write from your heart, Caden.
Got to write from your heart.
That was the editor of the Oakley Graphic in Oakley, Kansas, Anita Gabel. She is our guest today for this episode 36 of Seeking Context. And she's going to tell us all about what it's like to become the editor of a hometown newspaper and then buy that hometown newspaper with having no experience in journalism prior to taking this sort of career transition. And so it's a really interesting interview, and I hope you'll stick around and learn what Anita has to share about the world of news. And Caden, can you tell everybody how they can support the show before we get into the episode?
Of course. So first off, we'll want to say that this episode is brought to you once again by High Plains Barbershop Chorus in Hays, Kansas. If you want to know about them, you can check out our Seeking Context episode 33, Sound Celebration. And if you're interested in joining the chorus, they're always accepting new members of all ages, and they meet Thursday evenings from 8 to 10 at the Trinity Lutheran Church in Hays. And thanks again to High Plains Chorus for being our first official sponsors.
And let me interject here. The chorus is performing tomorrow for Memorial Day at the Veterans Cemetery for a ceremony at 10 a.m. in Waukene, Kansas. So you can come out to hear that and honor the veterans and everyone who served this country if you're able to do that tomorrow morning.
And also, if you would like to support our podcast, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitch. You can subscribe to any of our audio podcasts wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to support us with a monetary donation, we have a Buy Me a Coffee at buymeacoffee.com/seeking context. And you can decide how much you want to donate, as little as $1. But if you donate anything, you get the access to our full library of content that we might have not shown to the public. So if you would like to get more context from Seeking Context, give us some of those options.
All right. Well, thanks, Caden. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce Anita Gabel, the editor of the Oakley Graphic. And Caden and I will be back to wrap up after this interview, which Anita and I recorded just 2 days ago on Thursday this week. All right. Hello, America. Hello, Oakley, Kansas. This is Justin at Seeking Context, and I'm speaking today with Anita Gabel at the Oakley Graphic. Thank you for speaking with me.
You're welcome.
I would like to start out by asking, for people that may not live in Oakley or be from around here, what is the Oakley Graphic? What do you cover? What is the newspaper all about?
The Oakley Graphic covers, basically, we try to stay with local news. We try to get in a few of the things that are happening in the nation and the state. Mm-hmm. But we try to stay just local because I feel like a local newspaper should cover local information.
Right. And where do you distribute it? It's here, but you got some distribution outside the local area?
Yes, we have, and by local, I mean local in the county. So we try to cover Winona, which is in the county, mm-hmm. and west, and then Oakley, and also Grinnell, which is just east of here.
Okay, right.
And then our distribution is mainly mail. We have online distribution also, but our distribution is everywhere. We have papers that go to Washington, to the East Coast, South Carolina, to the south in Texas, and north also. So we have a coverage of kind of all over the state.
Cool. And where does it actually get printed? How does that happen?
It actually gets printed in Russell, Kansas.
Okay.
And we send in online, and then they print it for us. And we also, I go pick it up at Quinter. They bring it back to Quinter for me and pick it up at Quinter, and then I deliver it to the newspaper or to the post office.
Okay, cool. And then I see you can pick it up at the grocery store.
Yes.
There's a few places around town you sell it sort of retail, I guess.
Right, retail. We have the grocery store. They can always come to the office here. And we also have the Oakley Farm and Home.
Right. And so you run a newspaper. What is the process of putting together the paper each week? How does that go down?
Okay, so each week we have ads that run weekly, and we have ads that people just run anytime. So I have an ad supervisor that helps me, and she pulls in all of the ads sent through basically her email. We do have a few people that stop in and place an ad. And then I put together the newspaper part of it. And it's just a matter of gathering information, writing your stories. I have a lot of stories that are sent in to me, like our sports stories and things like that from the coaches themselves. And then some stories I send out interviews. A lot of people like to do via email. And so we do a lot of interviews via email. And we gather the information, we gather pictures, and we put the stories in. And that's kind of how it works.
Right. And so who's writing all of the, I mean, there's a lot of articles.
Yes.
Is that you writing all of these? How does that happen?
Some of the stories I write, some of the stories are written by, like our sports stories, they're written by the coaches. Some people have stories that they want to put in and they write them themselves. But yeah, usually I'm the writer of them.
Right.
So
Sounds like a lot of work.
it is a lot of work.
And when do you batch all of this time? The paper comes out on Wednesdays?
Paper comes out on Wednesdays, yes. So by, we go to print on Monday because we have to print earlier. So we go to print on Monday night. And so on Tuesday morning, we're already working on the next week's paper.
Right.
We're gathering interviews, setting up interviews, taking some pictures, and writing stories. Sometimes we have stories going as we follow along with events that are happening, such as we have kids going to this Kid Wind, and so we've been trying to patch in stories as they take each step to the nationals of Kids Wind. And so we're basically going from Tuesday to, I try to have all the stories done by Friday, and then we try to have all the ads in on Friday, and we try to have everything pretty much put together Friday. So between Tuesday to Friday, you're interviewing, writing, taking pictures.
And try and button it up by Friday night?
By Friday night. And then we have, Monday is our last minute situations, such as if there's obituaries that come in and things, last minute stories that have to be put in for time wise. We're doing those on Monday.
And does it seem, I feel like it must sometimes seem relentless, like how Friday's always just sitting there in front of you every week.
Yes. We're always working for the deadline.
And how do you take time off?
I haven't taken time off.
How long have you owned the paper?
2 years. I've worked in it 3 years, but for 2 years, yes, we haven't taken time off. Weekends, you basically take your weekend, but in 2 years I've been here on weekends because it takes, with only two of us here, my ad supervisor and myself, it takes every day basically to do something to keep up.
Right. And so how did you said you worked for the
Yes.
paper for a little bit, so
Yes.
how did you come to own the Oakley Graphic?
Well, that's a little story in itself. I worked for the owners as editor for a year, and after a year, I kept saying there was just little things that would happen, and I thought if I could just own the paper, I could do it my way. And just so happened, a year after being editor, they came to me and asked me if I would be interested in buying the paper. And I said absolutely. So that's how I came about owning the papers. They just asked me and I said yes, and we buttoned it up and did it, and I've owned it for 2 years now.
All right.
So.
Well, and you have good distribution. How do you feel like has it changed from when you did it before? Were you able to implement things that you feel like?
Yes, we were able to implement things that before were not so much. There's just a lot of things that I can decide what goes in now, and I don't have to rely on somebody else to decide. Our hometown loves hometown news, and so that's why we pretty much center on hometown news. That's one thing that is, I feel, better since we've gotten it. Our distribution has basically stayed the same. We didn't lose anybody. We've gained some. It's probably maybe went up 200 people.
Oh, cool.
And I don't know. I just feel like we've really buttoned some things down as far as subscription wise. We don't have as many lost papers. We used to do a label, and now my label is not a label, it's printed on the newspaper. So there's no lost labels or labels stuck on other papers and things like that.
Right.
So I feel like that's a lot better. The people in the community were really glad about having the paper brought back home to Oakley rather than it was
has outside ownership.
outside ownership, yes, before. So we were excited to bring it back home to Oakley, and just kind of excited to have our paper back home in our hometown again.
Yeah, that's great. And what were you doing before? How did you get into journalism?
Before I was an office manager, and I was ready to do something different. I had been there 11 years, and I was ready to do something different. So the editor position came open, and I didn't know if they would be willing to, how the pay would be, how the benefits would be, or anything. And I had always worked before for pay, not benefits, have been a single mom. So I thought, okay, let's just talk to them and see. And when I went down and talked to them, they hired me on the spot, and so that's how we got in.
Cool. So you had not been in
Changed.
journalism.
No.
But you were working here in Oakley in
I
this
was
office
working-
job. Okay.
Yes. I had never in my life thought I would own a newspaper. But here we are.
And did you just see an ad in the paper for editor? How did it come about?
Yes, I saw the ad in the paper, and then the gal that used to work here, she knew me through school activities and things, and I asked her about it one time at a school function, and she's like, "Oh yes, you need to apply." And she must have gave my name to the owners because they ended up calling me. So
Oh wow, you were recruited.
I was recruited. Yes.
All right, that's really interesting. And tell me about the economics of owning and operating a local paper. You're able to make a living?
I am able to make a living. We have a very supportive community here in Oakley, and it's all about supporting your hometown. And I'm very fortunate to be here in this community because everybody's very good about wanting a hometown newspaper, and so they advertise with us. They support we do a lot of full page advertisements, like for state track and state basketball, those kind of things. And everybody in the community, when we call to ask if they would be willing to be a sponsor on the page, they usually always say yes. And so I am just so fortunate to live in Oakley and have my business in Oakley because it's very much hometown supported.
Right. And are are ads most of the revenue?
Yes, most of the revenue is from ads. That's how a newspaper makes money, is through the ads. And so without ads, I wouldn't be able to do this. So
Right.
Yeah.
And is there any economic advantage to the online distribution? Is there any money come in through that realm, or is it mostly the printed ads?
Well, the online paper is actually the printed paper just sent out online. So everything, I guess when you buy an ad, you're buying a paper ad, but you're also buying an online ad.
Okay.
And so it's all through advertising, and it's all done whether it's via online or paper the same way.
Okay. Right.
So
And when you took a job in an industry that you were new to, how'd you learn to do it? Was there YouTube videos, or did you have a mentor?
I have to give credit to Gloria Paps. She was here, and she had been in the newspaper business for a long time, and so she actually taught me the beginning parts of InDesign, which is what we use for the paper layout. And she was just patient and worked with me. And the first week I went down and watched somebody put it together. The second week I went down to Cimarron, is where it had been owned before, and I went down there and we tried to put it together. But I learned more the third week putting it together here at home with her, and then the fourth week I did it by myself. So
Well, that's fast spin up.
yeah. It was.
And then you were in charge. Then you were the editor.
Then I was the editor, right? And
Right.
it was kind of a learning curve, but it was something I've never done, and it was exciting. And every week is different, every day is different, and so we just take each day as it comes in, and any news. I'm very fortunate that I have people that. The one thing I was concerned about taking the paper was I didn't want to have to just go pull news stories out of the woodwork, and have to go beat the pavement for news stories. So we've tried to always be open and say, if you have something you want to put in, please let us know. And we've been very fortunate that people are willing to share their stories and willing to tell us what's happening in the community too. So
Right.
So we can get those things in the newspaper.
Yeah, that's great. I've seen you around town taking pictures a lot.
Yes.
So do you do all of the photography and the copy?
I do a lot of the copy, but the photography, I have Rhonda Abel who helps take pictures. She goes to a lot of the school functions, and so I'm trying to help with that, but she is one of my main photographers. I have Celeste Rains who helps with wrestling when wrestling season comes along. And we have a lot of people that will, if I can't make it, I will let them know, and they will take some pictures and send them in to us. So
That's nice.
yeah, but usually it's Rhonda Abel and myself doing pictures, and it is keeps you busy.
Well, and when you did a story on the Community Foundation, and
Yes.
you had an intern.
Yes.
And so is that a program that's open every year or sort of continuous? How does that work?
That was the first time we had an intern, and she wasn't sure. She had to do it for a scholarship, and she wasn't sure what she wanted to really do, and so wanted to know if she could come intern here. And I'm like, sure, come intern. And so we took her through all the aspects as quick as we could in 2 weeks, and showed her how to do an ad, showed her how to lay out a page of the paper, asked her to write an article, and she ended up writing 3 articles, and she ended up changing her major to journalism. So
Really?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Excited
you
about
inspired her to,
Well, I
or
guess
the experience
the
did,
experience
I guess.
did. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right. But in that case, that was a self-initiated. She came and asked,
Yes, she
should I be
asked.
interested in doing
She
this?
asked
Okay.
if she needed to do this for her scholarship, and she was like to be an intern, and I'm like, yes. I always want to offer the opportunity for somebody that wants to do this, because I feel like it's something that is not everything is online, and everything is so technology these days, that the newspaper is not something that people really consider going into work.
Right.
Kind of like myself. I was kind of like, never knew I'd own a newspaper, but
Right. Well, and so I guess, what do you feel like for young people that are considering journalism? Like, what makes a person good at that job? What are the sort of qualities that?
I think don't forget to write from your heart. Write from your heart. Depends on what kind of stories you're going to write, but people can sense feeling in stories and in articles, and if you write from your heart and write with emotion, then people will be willing to read what you write.
Can you teach that? Do you think it's an innate skill?
I think it's something that the more you do it, the better you get at it. And I think it's all about your style of writing. Some people, that's how I write, is with feeling. Some people write just on the outside edge, looking in type, and I just feel like if you write from your heart, write with feeling, it's just, people can sense that.
Right. Do you write? Will you do a first pass of your articles and then let it sit for a day or two and come back and edit it? How do you
Yes,
actually?
I usually do. Yes,
plan your week?
I usually write everything down that I can think of in a first article, and then I'll come back and I'll look at it and review it and edit it and move things from beginning to end type thing.
Right.
And then the final is what goes in the newspaper. So
Right. And but it's really just you're the editor. There's
the
nobody
editor.
supervising
No,
or like
no.
bouncing ideas off.
No, I have my ad supervisor. She proofreads for me, and we kind of proofread for each other. And so, but she just knows my style of writing, so she just kind of knows how it's going to be.
Right. Well, and I guess, do you have any thoughts on like if a person was thinking about, I might go buy a local newspaper?
Yeah.
What would you like? What do you know now that you didn't know beforehand?
Make sure you have a good printer you can use that will always print. Printing newspapers is the biggest expense you have, is your printing. Make sure that you have support of your town, because if you don't have support of your town, then I don't know how your newspaper is going to survive. But there's a lot of towns that have small newspapers, and they're still striving. I'm looking at trying to go into a little bit more in the web area and growing in that area too, just because there are a lot of people that do our online, and there's a lot of people that, well, we didn't see anything on the web, and so I want to grow that area of my newspaper.
And how is the online distribution? Or is it newspapers.com? I haven't actually seen.
No, actually, people just send me their email and I send it to them. That's the way we're doing it right now.
Okay, all right. There's not an oakleygraphic.com
No,
or a
no,
Facebook
not yet.
page that has Oakley Graphic
Nope.
content. Okay.
No, not yet.
Yeah, so no specifics on that. That's like a to be determined.
To be determined.
Plan.
Yes.
All right,
yes,
that's exciting.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. And any open jobs? Are you
Any open jobs?
for people that want to?
Well, I actually have a young girl that I have hired for the summer also to help. I'm teaching her how to lay out the paper, and how to do my side of the paper, so that maybe I can take some time off.
That's exciting.
I have a son getting married next year, so I want to be able to take some time off and do that, and so that's my goal with her, is to try to get her to be able to do this part. That doesn't even count the accounting part of everything, so
Which you also do yourself?
which I also do myself. Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so we could use some accounting support. We
Yeah.
could use some part-time support.
The accounting support, I feel like I'm okay there if I can get somebody to help me lay it out and put it together. That's good. So that's how she's helping me right now. I hope to get her into some writing, maybe, and some ad I don't know how I want to say that, ad promotion, I guess, and
Right.
some, putting together of the ads too.
Yeah, that sounds great. And tell me about if you have any, like if you covered like a favorite story or a really unexpected story in the 2 or 3 years you've been doing the paper.
There's been a few. When the big boy train came through, that was a big story. That was one I really enjoyed. Just to watch it come in. It first came in the first time in the winter, so just with the steam and everything up in the cold sky, it was just really pretty pictures, and just I feel like a kind of a once every in a lifetime maybe story. Another one of those was we had some Black Hawk helicopters come out and land at the airport to refuel, and I got word that they were out there, so I went out and did a story on that, and that was exciting. You don't realize until you're sitting in one what it actually all entails in a Black Hawk helicopter. So
Was that a planned event or?
no, that was just
They just needed
they're
fuel.
here to refuel, and they called and said, we have Black Hawk helicopters out here, and would you like to come take a picture? Yes. And so I ended up getting a story on that. Then we've had some travelers who have come through that just one was traveling to get awareness on veterans, and when they come back from service, how the suicide rate and things like that are high, and so he was walking across the United States to bring awareness to that, and I felt like that was a really
What?
awesome. Yes.
He met my friend in San Diego.
Oh, well, there you
No,
go.
like a block from my house in San Diego. I think I know who you're talking about. Do you have pictures of this guy?
Yes, I do.
Okay, this is so Leanne Adams. I believe this may be the guy that you met at the park in San Diego
Might
a
be.
few months last year.
Last year.
Oh my gosh! Yeah,
Yes.
we
Yes.
like because she told me about this amazing story.
Yes.
and he hung out for the day. Okay, that's an interesting.
Yeah, we'll have to check into that a little more because I just feel like that was an amazing story. He was walking for an amazing cause, and I was just so proud to put it in our hometown newspaper.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, well, I'll have to look that up and see
Yes.
if that's the same person. 'Cause that definitely rings a bell for me. Sorry, and I guess I sort of
okay.
cut you off because I got
No,
excited
that's
about
okay.
that.
I'm glad.
Serendipitous.
You know, that just goes to show sometimes how things can travel across the United States and hit the little small towns and some of the cities also. So
Yeah. You've lived in Oakley for a
Lived
long
in
time.
Oakley for 22 years.
Okay. What have you learned about Oakley in 3 years of running the paper that you may not have realized just hanging out before that?
Well, just being a business owner in Oakley is, I've learned a lot about the support of Oakley. As they support me, I support them. I mean, we are in the small towns, and COVID, I feel like, really has brought that home. We just need to support our hometown businesses, or we're not going to be here. And so, on the outside, before, sure, I would support our hometown business as much as possible, but now it's just even more driven home about supporting the hometown businesses.
Yeah. But you just do it. That's your impulse.
That's just my impulse. I do not buy gas anywhere but in Oakley, Kansas. So
Okay. All right.
I don't travel far enough yet. So
All right. Well, I think that's a good note to close on.
Okay.
So if you're in Oakley and you appreciate the businesses that are here,
Yes.
patronizing them really does make a difference.
it does make a difference.
Like
Yes,
it makes a
does.
difference for your ads, makes a difference
Yes.
for just your ability to really make a living.
Yes, it does.
All right. Well, thanks for taking the leap and doing something new.
Sure.
And I think the community really appreciates it. And I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me
Sure.
today.
Thank you for thinking of us.
All right. Thanks, Anita. All right, Caden, what do you think? You going to go out and buy a newspaper next week?
I don't know. That seems like a lot of work. When she said that she didn't take any breaks or any vacation,
For
it's
2 years.
that's
And it's
crazy.
not like there's one on the horizon. We have to figure out how she can take the week off for her son's wedding.
Right.
Like,
We'll-
I feel like
going.
Oakley needs to band together.
Everyone writes one article.
Right? We can pre-plan this one.
Right.
Like the week off. Like they do that on TV shows or podcasts actually, where it's like a look back episode. No new
Right.
news. We're just going to take the week off.
Nothing new. Just look back, and maybe it's because I think I remember looking at the Oakley newspaper, and they do like this day in history, 20
Mhm.
years ago, is like this happened. So
Right.
that'd be really cool.
We
But
just do that for the whole week.
that would be
Unless
awesome.
it's the wedding.
But yes, it was a great interview. It had it was just very community valued, kind of centric interview. It was great to hear her side of it.
And I did not know that she had not owned or even worked in journalism before, coming to become the editor and then purchasing the paper. I think that's so cool. The story that she was talking about, though, that I got excited about. We did some research. We looked up the article, and can you show that article?
Of course, here it comes. Maybe
All right, and so this guy Jeremy, what's his last? Jeremy Miller.
Jeremy Miller. Yes.
So this was 2019, and he was walking across the country to promote veterans. You can pull it down.
Gotcha.
He was promoting veteran suicide awareness. He had a suicide attempt of his own, and he was walking from California to Virginia. The gentleman that stopped at my house, he had just gotten to the Pacific Ocean, was walking the other direction.
Mm.
So now I know that there's also a whole thing that you can walk across the country. I don't think it's super common, but there's more than one.
Right. That it would have been kind of crazy if there was just that one guy and he was just everywhere.
Right. He stops, and when he stops, he always stops in Oakley. So anyway, but I do think that's a neat story for Memorial Day. You know, he was promoting awareness for the problems that veterans face after going to war and coming back, and that's something that we can be thankful for their service tomorrow. And if you're out and about, get out to the cemeteries and pay your respects. There's all kinds of things going on. Like we said before the episode, you know, there's a ceremony at the Veterans Memorial Ceremony in Waukene, Kansas tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Perfect. Yes, it's either a good time to get with family, have a barbecue, and a good time to pay your respects. So, and it's a beautiful weekend, at least here in Kansas. It's been super cold, and now it's at least warming up. So,
yeah, finally.
So, perfect. It worked out.
All right. Well, you know, I want to say, Caden mentioned this earlier before the show, but you know, if you'd like to support us, you can visit us at buymeacoffee.com/seekingcontext. It's just $1, right, Caden? You can give $50, you can give it $2,000, but
you can give whatever you want. And but if you give anything, you get just the same as everyone else. So it's a pretty good opportunity if you want stuff that the rest of the public doesn't get to see.
Super secret stuff. Yeah,
it is. It's an exclusive club.
We appreciate any support. And if you want to be a sponsor, you can visit us at seekingcontext.com and drop us a line, and we'd be happy to share. Or if you have stories that you want us to cover about interesting people, entrepreneurs, business owners, musicians, you know, making it happen in America, we love to cover interesting stories and find out what the backstory is on the amazing things that people do in this world.
That's right.
All right. Anything else for parting shots, Caden?
I don't think so. It was a good episode, so I think it's good to end it out.
All right. Well, happy Memorial Day, everyone. Enjoy your summer, and we will see you next time on Seeking Context.